Hey guys, welcome to BP, the Bible Perspective. Candace Bure is suffering PTSD from her experience on The View. My question is, was she armed with God's armor? Now before we get into it, please like and share this video and subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comment section below. All comments are welcome. Now in a recent interview, conservative Christian actress Candace Bure said that her experience on The View was so bad that she is still suffering PTSD. I'm going to read from an excerpt of an interview she did. I'm curious because The View, my question is, what did she think she was walking into when she was going to appear on The View? The View is a progressive show. She's a conservative. What did she expect? Let me read some of the excerpts from the article. Candace Cameron Bure felt sick to her stomach when she had to discuss hard topics on The View, revealing she still suffers from PTSD from her 2-season stint on the talk show. The Fuller House actress admitted in a new interview that the stress and anxiety she feels when talking about the show, which she co-hosted from 2015 to 2016, still leaves a pit in my stomach, she says. There was only one type of stress that I ever felt in my life that came from that show. And I have PTSD, like I can feel it, Burris said. Burris, 45, said recently on an ABC Behind the Table podcast. It was so difficult, she said, and to manage that emotional stress was very, very hard. The actress, who recently clarified that she's not anti-vax but just pro-medical freedom, explained that she felt immense pressure to represent the conservative viewpoint on TV and that she didn't always find the topics of conversation to be easier to discuss. I'm going to come back to that because why? She further says, I was just trying to understand and have a general grasp of topics that I didn't want to talk about or didn't care about, she said. But then why did you go on the show? She continues. At times she even started feeling ill ahead of filming because she was so anxious about discussing her viewpoints with such a big audience. She says, when I felt like I was going into a show that I didn't have a clear opinion about or it wasn't something that I was I'm sorry, let me read that again. When I felt like I was going into a show that I didn't have a clear opinion about or it was something that I was legitimately nervous to talk about because I didn't have an opinion about it, but I knew I was the only one at the table that had my opinion, meaning her conservative opinion. I would just get sick to my stomach, she said. I hated that feeling. And then I'm like, I don't know who's going to come at me. Now this is kind of amazing to me because a couple of things. One, you were going on a national broadcast, a TV show, one that was progressive. You were the conservative. What did you expect? Secondly, why would you go on? Why would you do the program without doing your homework? In other words, you have access to it. They tell you the topics they're going to discuss. Why wouldn't you do your due diligence? I do have my opinions on that. Candace is as I said, Christian conservative. And like many Christian conservative, they get their news solely from conservative news, such as Fox News and others. In other words, their opinions come from these sources. The problem with that is that Fox News don't always give you the truth. So you can easily be challenged. For example, if you say, I have an opinion against critical race theory. I don't like it. I think it's racist. I think it's evil. And if you're challenged to say, what is critical race theory? And your opinions come from Fox News, you can't answer that question. So you're going to get hammered. Now, conservatives on The View, most of them have failed because they're too passive. One exception would be Meghan McCain. Meghan McCain was successful because she stood her ground. People didn't like Meghan McCain because she came off as an elite, privileged, spoiled brat. But she did stand her ground. So how do you navigate and manage through a progressive show like The View if you are a conservative? One, do your homework, okay? And then stand your ground. But the other thing is that I believe people like Candace, they live in such a sheltered bubble. They're conservative, middle class neighborhoods where they go to the nice stores. Now I'm going to I'm kind of pick at her for a moment. This is, she got a lot of flack for this picture. Now, this is her husband. And some of the people, conservatives in her circle, right, freaked out because his hand was on her breast. This is her husband. Now, another thing is that I think they have this fantasy view of life like you see in her Hallmark movies. You know, that picturesque scene right here. How about this one? Now, I live in a winter climate, and I hate it. But when I see that picture, isn't that nice? I want to be there. But it's a fantasy. And what happens is that when they step out of that fantasy, in this case, she goes on The View. Candace sort of thinks everybody thinks like her, and everybody's going to play nice. They don't. So here's the thing, and I'm more troubled that if Candace is still suffering such trauma and stress from a show that she got paid for and got paid well, I might add, but were you spiritually equipped? Let me read the famous armor of God. This is Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10. Finally be strengthened by the Lord and by his vast strength. Put on the full armor of God so that you can stand against the tactics of the devil. For our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against rulers, against authorities, against the world powers of this darkness, against spiritual forces of evil in the heavens. This is why you must take up the full armor of God, so that you may be able to resist in the evil day, having prepared everything to take your stand. Stand, therefore, with truth like a belt around your waist, righteousness like armor on your chest, and your feet sandaled with the readiness of the gospel of peace. In every situation, take the shield of faith, and with it you will be able to you'll be able to extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is God's word. Now, here's what I wanted to see here, because she said she feels right? Like that such pressure from being on that show. My question again, did you arm yourself with God's armor? That would have been your solution. This is also your solution now if you're still feeling, as you say, PTSD, that you are emotionally and physically reacting to just memories of being on that show, which I'm going to tell you wasn't that bad. And by the way, let me also say this. Is this not what God warned us and equipped us and told us to prepare for as we face a world of darkness? I think sometimes people like Candace, and this is just my opinion, look at the world through that sheltered bubble. And every now and then it gets burst when they have to go outside of that bubble. How do I know? Because she's feeling PTSD from a show she got paid very well for simply giving her opinions. And why did that affect her so? All right, guys, that is my perspective. I would love to hear what you think. So don't forget to add your comments to the comment section. All comments are welcome. And don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. Next time, I'll see you then.